Hello and welcome to Polity Part 4. Before starting the lecture, there is a small disclaimer that we are required to understand before we proceed further. The disclaimer is like the images used in our slide deck are for educational purposes only. We respect the intellectual property rights of the original creators and owners of these images. If you are the owner of any of the images used in this tag and have any concerns or issues, please contact us at sathi@iitk.ac.in and we shall remove the images. Let's see preamble as a part of the constitution. Preamble is as to whether it is a part of the constitution or not. This is a very significant question. Preamble is what we called as the summary of constitution. So, as a summary, is it a part of the constitution or is it not the part of the constitution? This question has been remain still a, you can say, debatable question. However, there is a verdict of the Supreme Court on it. But still, so many times this thing discussed in the various channels whether it is a part of constitution or not. The first case regarding this happened in 1960, known as Berubari Union case. In this case, the Supreme Court specifically opined that preamble is not the part of the constitution. The Supreme Court said that the preamble shows the general purposes behind the several provisions in the constitution and is thus a key to the minds of the makers of the constitution. It's just a preface to the constitution, not a part of the constitution. The verdict came in Berubari Union case 1960. Second time in 1973, Keshav Nanda Bharti case happened. The Supreme Court rejected the earlier opinion and held that the parliament is the part of the the preamble is the part of the constitution because it is the summary of the constitution and as a summary it is the part of the constitution. 1995, during the LIC of India case, the Supreme Court again held that the preamble is an integral part of the constitution. The decision that was taken during the Keshavnanda Bharti case, that decision prevailed with some little bit modification. Instead of declaring the preamble as a whole part of the constitution being a summary, the Supreme Court said that preamble is an integral part of the constitution, which means it is non-enforceable in any court of law because it is just a summary of the provisions that we have in the constitution. It is not containing the provisions itself. The preamble is neither a source of power to legislature nor a prohibition upon the power of legislature. It is not justiciable, that is, its provisions are not enforceable in courts of law, as it is not containing the original provisions. Even if we take the example like liberty. In constitution we have the liberty in faith, thought, expression, belief, speech. We have these liberties: faith, thought, expression, belief, and speech. But the articles related to these have been enshrined in the fundamental rights. So, the provisions, the restrictions, the enforceability of fundamental rights mentioned in Part 3 of the Constitution that are dealing with the faith, the thought, the expression, the belief, the speech under the umbrella of liberty. But in preamble, liberty is just only expressed, which means the preamble itself not containing anything that it could be justifiable in the court. It is not having any provision. It is just a summarized form. Here, the example you can take so that your concept could be clear. Amenability of the preamble. The preamble could be amended, subject to the condition that no amendment is done to the basic features. The fundamental features of the Constitution as contained in the preamble couldn't be altered by an amendment under Article 368. Article 368 India to amend the Constitution of India, to repeal or add any provision as per the need of the time. Because the preamble is also considered as the integral part of the Constitution in reference to the Supreme Court verdict of LIC India case 1995. The preamble could also be amended under the Article 368 like the other provisions. But it is highly restricted. The amendment should not affect the basic feature of the preamble. Preamble has been amended only once so far in 1976 by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, which has added the three new words socialist, secular, and integrity to the preamble. The preamble states India as sovereign, secular, socialist, democratic republic. This is the content of the Constitution, whereas it also talk about justice, liberty, fraternity, and integrity. Okay, justice, liberty, fraternity, integrity. These all are spirit of the Constitution, or what we call as aspiration of the Constitution. The above one is content signifies what we have achieved already in the Constitution. The Constitution of India defines the India as sovereign state, secular state, socialist state, democratic state, and republic state. Justice, liberty, fraternity, and integrity, these are aspirations. What we want to achieve in our nation by the help of Constitution. So here you can say, previously, before the 1976, the words like secular and socialist and the integrity were not mentioned in the preamble. These were added later. Basic structure, doctrine of basic structure. The Parliament's unlimited power to amend the Constitution is subject to only one restriction. Therefore, it should not dilute or violate the basic structure of the Constitution, or the effects of the amendment should not be abrogating or disturbing in nature towards the basic structure. That has been remain a dictatable topic about the amendment, or you can say amendment powers of legislature regarding with constitutional provisions. And here the third term that appears, it is what we call as judicial review. Article 368 of the Indian Constitution empowers the Indian Parliament to amend the provisions of the Indian Constitution. Sometimes these amendments conflicted because that were seen as these amendments affecting the constitutional nature. For example, you can say there is a division of power between the federal government and the provincial government. Federal here refers to the central government and provincial government here refers to the state government. The parliament or the central government works on union list, exclusively the matters on which only the central or parliament could make law. The state having their state list to make the laws. By amending power, the central government could even establish the rule over the matters or state list. It means that the central government could acquire the matters from the state list to be add them in the union list or the concurrent list to curb the power of state government. So that affects the constitutional basis. And then judicial review comes in. The judicial review grants the power to the judiciary of India to interfere in the matters where there is the conflict regarding any amendment. If the amendment is actually abrogating or violating the constitutional provisions. To overcome the judicial review, the Indian government introduced the ninth schedule in the year of 1950, in which the government claimed if there is any matter that has been shifted to the ninth schedule of the constitution, that matter will not be cautioned in any court of law. Which means if the government or the parliament has made the law on that matter is not going to be cautioned in the court. But the Supreme Court later on in 1973 formulated the basic structure doctrine, in which the Supreme Court state any matter that was formulated after 24th April 1973 or on 24th April 1973, on or after this date. These matters, however, are part of ninth schedule. These matters will be cautioned in the court of law if they affect any provision related with the basic structure of the Indian Constitution. But if the matter already formulated before 24th April 1973, then these matter will not be cautioned in any court of law. What is the actual doctrine of basic structure? Emergence of the basic structure. First, Sankari Prasad case 1951. In this case, the Supreme Court contended that the Parliament's power of amending the Constitution under Article 368 included the power to amend the fundamental rights guaranteed in Part 3 as well. It is based its judgment on the logic that the world law mentioned in the Article 13 includes only ordinary law and not constitutional amendment acts. There are two main articles of Indian Constitution, Article 12 and Article 13. Article 12 defines which organizations and what forms we will consider as government. Article 13 defines what we call as law. As per Article 12, the central government and its organizations, state government and its organization, local government and its organization, and any private organizations that having the partnership with the government. All these four types will be termed as the state or government. Article 13 says any legislature made by the central government, any legislature made by the state government, any law made by the local government, any provision added by the private firm or private organization having a close partnership with government, that will be considered as law. While formulating a verdict in Sankari Prasad case 1951, the Supreme Court observed word law mentioned in Article 13 includes only the ordinary law, the law that were made on the ordinary basis or the simple majority basis, not having any resemblance with the constitutional amendments under Article 368. Second, in Golaknath case 1967. In this case, the court reverts its earlier stance that the fundamental rights could be amended. It is said the fundamental rights are not amenable to the parliamentary restricted as stated in Article 13. And to amend the fundamental rights, a new Constituent Assembly would be required. Fundamental rights are given a transcendental and immutable position, and hence the Parliament couldn't abridge or take away any of these rights. Parliament reacted to this judgment by enacting the 24th Amendment Act, including a provision in Article 368, declared the Parliament has power to take away any of the fundamental rights if seen necessary. In 1973, during the Keshavnanda Bharati case, that was a landmark case in defining the concept of basic structure doctrine. In previous two cases of 1967 and 1951, the Supreme Court was revolving around the basic structure. But what do we exactly mean by basic structure? That was not defined. But in Keshavnanda Bharati case, for the first time, the basic structure got clearly defined by the Supreme Court. In this, the Supreme Court overruled its judgment in the Golaknath case, upheld the validity of 24th Amendment Act, and opined that the Parliament is empowered to take away or abridge any of the fundamental right. However, such changes should not alter the basic structure of the Constitution. The constituent power of Parliament under Article 368 does not enable it to alter the basic structure of the Constitution. 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976 amended Article 368. No limitation on the constituent power of Parliament. Any amendment couldn't be questioned in any court on any ground. Means the provision of judicial review was totally abolished during this case. Minerva Mill case 1980. Parliament reacted to the above case by enacting the 42nd Amendment Act, which declared under Article 368 that there is no limitation on the constant power of Parliament, and it barred the courts from questioning such amendments. This provision was invalidated by the Supreme Court, stating that the Parliament couldn't take away the judicial review power of the Constitution, since it is the part of the basic structure of the doctrine. The judges ruled that the limited amending power itself is a basic structure of the Constitution. Vaman Rao case 1981. The Supreme Court clarified that the doctrine would be applicable to the constitutional amendment enacted after April 24, 1973 during the Keshavnanda Bharati case, including the 9th schedule. Indira Sohani case 1992. The Supreme Court examined the scope and extent of Article 16(4), provides for the reservation of jobs in favor of backward classes, upheld the constitutional validity of 27% reservation for OBCs, stands out for other backward classes, with certain conditions like creamy layer exclusion, no reservation in promotion, total reserve quota should not exceed 50%, etc. Here, rule of law was added to the list of basic features of the Constitution. As the doctrine of basic structure revolved, or you can say further developed by the court after the hearings of the cases and the amendability powers and all, then over the period of time, the elements have been added as the part of basic structure. And what are these elements? From the various judgments, the following have emerged as basic structures or basic features of the Constitution or elements of the basic structure of the Constitution. First, the supremacy of the Constitution. In India, the Parliament is not supreme as UK, but the Constitution is supreme as the model of USA. So, the Parliament could not declare itself as supreme position and could not overcome the position of Constitution. The first thing of basic structure. Rule of law, which means the government or the government executives could not do anything in their official or personal capacity without having a proper legislature or act to restrict the government powers in respect of the official actions. Sovereignty, liberty, and republic nature of Indian polity. The government could not summon the India under any government of any another foreign country. Liberty. The government could not snatch the liberty of the people. The people will have the right to freedom. Republic nature. The head of the Indian state will always be elected. Judicial review. The parliament could not ended the provision of judicial review. The provision is a part of basic structure. Harmony and balance between the fundamental rights and directive principle. The fundamental rights enforceable in nature. Directive principles are non-enforceable in nature. But fundamental rights are there to ensure the political justice. Directive principles are there to ensure the social justice and economic justice. In the preamble itself, the justice word signifies the three kinds of justice: the political, economic, and political justice ensured by the fundamental rights and economic and social by directive principle. So if the government drafted any law, any provision that makes a conflicted nature between the fundamental rights and the directive principles, then that will be cautioned under the term of judicial review and the court will give its opinion over that matter. This is also the part of basic structure. Separation of power. The government will be divided into central or state. Even the powers between the legislature and the executive will be defined clearly. No overlapping of power and no consolidation of power would be there. Federal character, like the state and the central government. Parliamentary system. Rule of equality. The government could not discriminate with anyone by formulating any law. Any individual, any religion, any societal segment, anyone would be declared as equal and no discrimination could be held with him on any ground. Unity and integrity of the nation. That couldn't be altered because of the amendment power of the constitution. Free and fair elections. The government could not make any provisions regarding the election structure of the country that impacts the free and fair election provisions. Powers of Supreme Court under Article 32, Article 136, Article 141 and Article 142. Powers of High Court under Article 226 and Article 227. Limited power of Parliament to amend the Constitution. The Parliament could not acquire the unlimited or unrestrictable powers by making any amendment to the Constitution. Welfare state. The government could not disobey its responsibility to ensure the welfare of its subjects. Freedom and dignity of an individual. What is the significance of basic structure? The basic doctrine saved the Indian democracy, which means the abrogating powers of government will be controlled, and the basic structure of Indian democracy, like the parliamentary form of government, the federal nature of the state, the secular nature of the state, socialist nature of the state, all these provisions will be saved. It strengthens our democracy by delineating a true separation of power where judiciary is independent of other two organs. There are the three organs of government: legislature for law-making process, executive for law implementation, and judiciary to give the justice to the grieved people. Judiciary could not be controlled by other two organs of legislature and executive. Judiciary is independent and integrated as well. By restraining the amending powers of the legislative organ of state, provided basic rights to citizens which no organ of state could overrule. Being dynamic in nature, it is more progressive and open to changes in time, unlike the rigid nature of earlier judgments. In earlier judgments, where the amendability of constitution was restricted by the court, in the 1973 verdict, the court allowed the amendments in the constitution, but keeping one thing separate: it should not affect the basic structure. That gives the flexibility, but also protect the Indian constitution from the atrocities of the government. Amendment of the Constitution. The Constitution of India also provides for its amendment in order to adjust itself to the changing condition and needs. It was borrowed from the South African Constitution procedure for amending the Indian Constitution. What is the procedure for amending the Indian Constitution? Article 368 in Part 20 of the Constitution deals with the power of Parliament to amend the Constitution and its procedure. It states that the Parliament may amend the Constitution by way of addition, variation, or repeal of any provision in accordance with the procedure laid down for the purpose. The Supreme Court in the Keshavnanda Bharti case 1973, the Parliament could not amend those provisions which form the basic structure of the Constitution. Types of amendments. The Constitution could be amended in three ways. First, the amendment by a simple majority of the Parliament, means more than 50% members sitting and voting should be in the favor. Amendment by special majority of the parliament. At least 2 by third of the sitting and voting members must be in favor, and additionally 50% also. Amendment by special majority of the parliament and the ratification of half of the state. For parliament, the condition is 2 by third and 50%, and at least 14 states or plus 14 states, because in India there are 28 states. So more than 14 states must be in favor of the provision in order to amend the constitution by amending of special majority of parliament and the ratification of half of the state legislatures. Simple majority. A number of provisions in the constitution could be amended by a simple majority of the two houses of parliament outside the scope of Article 360. Formation of new states and alteration of areas, boundaries, or names of existing state. Abolition or creation of legislative council in states. Use of official language. Citizenship, acquisition and termination provisions. Elections to parliament and state legislatures. Fifth schedule, administration of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Sixth schedule, administration of tribal areas. Fifth schedule, administration of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes. Sixth schedule, administration of tribal areas, that contains the 4 states, and these states are Assam, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura. For special majority, under Article 368, Clause 2, the Parliament could amend the Constitution by passing a bill with a special majority. A special majority with consent of half of states. Amended by the special majority of the Parliament and also with the consent of half of the state legislatures by a simple majority. There is no limit within which states should give their consent to the bill. Fundamental rights. Director principles of state policy. Election of the president and its manner. Extent of the executive power of the union and the states. Extent of the powers of Supreme Court and High Courts. Distribution of legislative powers between the union and the states. Goods and Service Tax Council or GST Council in short. Any of the list in the 7th schedule. Representation of states in parliament. Power of parliament to amend the constitution and its procedure. Article 368 itself. Recent important constitutional amendments. The Constitutional 100 Amendment Act 2015. Land Boundary Agreement between India and Bangladesh. The Constitution 101 Amendment Act 2017 introduced the Goods and Service Tax or GST. The Constitution 102nd Amendment Act 2018. Constitutional status to National Commission for Backward Classes. The Constitution 103rd Amendment Act 2019. 10% reservation for economical weaker section AWS. The Constitution 104th Amendment 20 seats for SCs and STs in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies. The 105th Constitutional Amendment Act 2021 restored the power of state governments to identify and notify other backward classes or OBCs within their respective state. 106 Constitutional Amendment Act 2023 reserves one third of all seats for women in Lok Sabha, state legislative assemblies, and the Legislative Assembly of the National Capital Territory of Delhi, including those reserved for SCs and STs. Union of States. Article 1 describes India, that is Bharat, as the union of states rather than a federation of states. First schedule of Constitution lists the name of states and their territorial phrase as Union of States has been preferred to Federation of States for two reasons. One, the Indian Federation is not the result of an agreement among the states like the American Federation. And the second, the states have no right to secede from the Federation. Like in US, because the state collaborated because of agreement. So if the any state wants to separate from the American Federation, the state could. But in India, the Indian Federation is not the part of any kind of agreement. So no state in India having a right to secede itself from the Federation. Union and its territories. Article 1 to 4 under Part 1 of the Constitution explain the Union and its territory. Article 1 India, that is Bharat, shall be a union of states. Article 1 the states and the territories will be specified in the first schedule. Article 1 the territory of India will comprise the following: the territories of the states, the union territories mentioned in the first schedule, and such other territories may be acquired. Article 2 deals with the admission or establishment of a new states. The Parliament may by law admit into the Union or establish a new states based on the terms and conditions. Authorizes the Parliament to first form a new state by separation of territory from any state, or by uniting two or more states or parts of states, or by uniting any territory to a part of any state. Second, increase the area of any state. Third, diminish the area of any state. Then, altering the boundaries of any state, and alter the name of any state. Article 3 lays down the two conditions in this regard. Once a bill contemplating the above changes could be introduced in the Parliament only with the prior recommendation of the President. 2. Before recommending the bill, the President has to refer the same to the state legislature concerned for expressing its views within a specified period. The President or Parliament is not bound by the views of the state legislature and may either accept or reject them, even if the views are received in time. 100th Constitutional Amendment Act 2015 was enacted to give effect to the acquiring of certain territories by India and transfer of certain other territories to Bangladesh, in pursuance of the agreement and its protocol entered into between the governments of India and Bangladesh. Article 4 itself declares that the laws made for admission or establishment of new states under Article 2 and the formation of new states and alteration of areas, boundaries, or names of existing states under Article 3 not to be considered as amendments of the Constitution under Article 368. This means that such laws could be passed by a simple majority and by the ordinary legislative process. Dhar Commission and JVP Committee, 1948. The integration of princely state with the rest of India has purely an ad hoc arrangement. Government of India appointed the Linguistic Provinces Commission under the chairmanship of K. Dhar in 1948 to examine the feasibility and evolution of an objective criteria. Committee recommended the reorganization of states on the basis of administrative convenience rather than linguistic factors. Faisal Ali Commission 1953 identified four major factors that could be taken into account. First, preservation and strengthening of the unity and security of the country. Second, linguistic and cultural homogeneity. Third, financial, economic, and administrative consideration. Fourth, planning and promotion of the welfare of the people in each state as well as of nation as a whole. State Reorganization Act 1956. It was a major reform of the boundaries of India's states and territories, organizing them along linguistic lines. The act came into effect at the same time as the Constituent's 7th Amendment Act 1956. Andhra State Act 1953 formed the first linguistic state known as the State of Andhra by taking out the Telugu speaking areas from the state of Madras. Kurnool was the capital of Andhra State and the State High Court was established at Guntur. Citizenship. India has two kinds of people, citizens and aliens. The citizens here signifies the person who are citizen and aliens here signifies the persons who are non-citizens. Citizens are full members of the Indian state and owing allegiance to it. They enjoy all civil and political rights. Aliens, on the other hand, are the citizens of some other state and hence do not enjoy all the civil and political rights. Citizenship is listed in the Constitution's Union List and hence falls within the Parliament's sole control. The term citizen is not defined in the Constitution. However, Part 2 describes the numerous types of people who are eligible for citizenship, Articles 5 to 11. Unlike other parts of the Constitution, which took effect on January 26, 1950, these articles were put into effect on November 26, 1949, the day the Constitution was signed. Article 5 declares, the citizenship was granted to all persons who were born and raised in India, even people who were domiciled in India but not born there, yet had one of their parents born there, were considered citizen. Anyone who had lived in India for more than 5 years was also eligible to seek citizenship. Article 6 declares, it granted citizenship rights to certain Pakistani migrants to India because of partition and migration prior to the independence. Article 6 stated that anyone who migrated to India prior to July 19, 1949 automatically became an Indian citizen if one of their parent or ancestor was born in India. Those who arrived in India after this date, on the other hand, had to register. Article 7 declares, it provided certain migrants to Pakistan with the right to citizenship. Those who migrated to Pakistan after March 1, 1947 and later returned on the resettlement permits were included in the Citizenship Act. The law was more sympathetic to those who migrated from Pakistan and were referred to as refugees than to those who were stranded in Pakistan or went there but decided to return soon. Article 8 declares, provided certain persons of Indian origin residing outside India with the right to citizenship. Any person of Indian origin residing outside India who was born in India or either of his or her parents or grandparents could register as an Indian citizen with the Indian diplomatic mission. Article 9 declares, Article 9 states that if a person voluntarily obtains the citizenship of a foreign state, he or she will no longer be a citizen of India. Article 10 declares that any person who is or is deemed to be a citizen of India under any of the preceding provisions of this part shall continue to such a citizen, subject to the provision of any law made by the Parliament. Article 11 declares Parliament the authority to make any provisions regarding the acquisition and termination of citizenship as well as the matters pertaining to it. With this, we have finished this part and thank you.